Welcome to another 10-minute networking workout by J. Cooper Smith. Today we're going to cover some of the really basics of learning the decimal numbering system, but I don't want you to focus on the basics. I want you to focus more on the procedures and process on how we manipulate this numbering system, so that when we get to a more difficult numbering system, then you will be able to use those same processes and techniques in an unfamiliar system. So it's much easier to learn it in a familiar system. Now, in our counting system, or our decimal system, it is called a base 10 system. Why is it base 10? Well, because we have 10 of these. If we had only 6 fingers on each hand, then we would be using a base 12 system. And so we have named conventions, and this is going to be the ones place. And we learned from the base 10 that this column is 10 to the 0 column, right? And of course, the lowest number that we have in that column is going to be a 0. Well, that's what we start off with. And then as we increase by 1 and then increase by another 1, we get 2, and then increase by another, and so on, all the way until we get up to the highest value in this column, which happens to be 9, right? Which is 1 less than the actual base, is how you figure out. So if we were on a base 16, then your highest value will be a number that represents 15, or a base 8 the highest number would be a number that represents 7. Okay. Now what happens is, once you get to the maximum value and you're going to increase it by 1, now traditionally we know that that number is going to be 10, but we want to focus on the process. We're actually going to increase this number, all right, which means that we will start over to the beginning, or the lowest value in this column, and then we'll increase this column by a single digit. And now you can see is where we get 10. And we continue on in just increasing these, and so this column now represents the 1, or the carryover, as we've heard before. And so this goes all the way from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So again, we're now at the max value for this column. So using our process, we would go back to, or we would increase 9 and go to the lowest value of this one, and we would increase this value to 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2. And again, this column now represents our 20 series. So it'd be like 21 all the way down to 29. Okay? And this would continue on all the way up until the point that we get up to the number 99. Once we get up to the number 99, then this will go back to 0. And our tens place, or 10 to the ones place, will also go back to 0. And the third column, which is our hundreds place, will now be increased to 1. So now we have 100. And we would continue on like this until we got up to 999. And we would still continue to increase each value over to the left place as we increase to the maximum values of the right column. So the next column being 10 to the third, which we happen to call the thousands place. 10 to the fourth we call the 10,000ths place. And 10 to the fifth we call the 100,000ths place. And 10 to the sixth we call the 1,000,000s place. So again, we have the base system that we learned earlier, and then we have the name that we as humans tend to call it. And so this is how the process goes in order to fill out this table. Okay, so now what I wanted to do is, let's take a number, any number. So let's say 283, right? We know that this is going to be 10 to the 0 place. This is going to be 10 to the 1 column. And this is going to be 10 to the 2 column. So this is how we figure out this number. So this number actually represents 3. Let me fix that real quick. 3 times 10 to the 0, which will equal 3 times, and we learned from the beginning, 10 to the 0 is 1, which gives us the number 3. Then this column represents 8 times 10 to the 1, which equals 8 times 10, which will equal 80. And then this column represents 2 times 10 to the second, which equals 2 times 100, which equals 200. And as you can see, if we add all these up, we get 283. So that's what I wanted to explain about the process. I know this is really easy, and you've learned this from basic mathematics, but once we get into the harder systems, or I won't say the harder systems, but the more unfamiliar systems, then you will appreciate the process, because it's the same thing that we're going to go through each and every time. I thank you for attending the 10-minute networking workout by J. Cooper Smith on the basic decimal process of figuring out these numbers. Have a great one.